My name is Amber Tucker. For the last 15 years, I've been living in the shadows, quiet, unnoticed, but relentless. My world is forensic medicine, buried deep inside the Attorney General's office, where secrets come to light and lies are stripped bare. I specialize in medical fraud and document forgery, the kind of cases so hidden and tangled that hardly anyone outside my circle knows they even exist. To my family, I'm just Amber, the oldest sister who never married, the one with a vague government job that no one really understands, not even me sometimes. I'm the background noise beneath their bright, colorful lives, seen but never really seen. Then came that Tuesday morning. An invitation landed on my desk, cream-colored and heavy, with gold lettering that shimmered like it belonged to a different world, the world Ashley lives in. Ashley, my younger sister, loud and brilliant and unapologetically the star of every room. The card was a spectacle. Just like her, you are cordially invited to the wedding of Ashley Marie and Dr. Robert Sullivan. The name made my heart skip, but not in the way I expected. I'd heard it before, seen it maybe, but the pieces didn't fit. Later that afternoon, the phone rang. It was Ashley. Her voice was smooth and sharp, polished with the same cool edge she's had since we were kids. The charm of someone who's always 3 steps ahead and knows exactly how to keep you just behind. "Are you coming to help with the wedding prep?" she asked, voice just sweet enough to sting. "Mom says we need all the help we can get." I balanced a pile of case files on my desk and smiled a little inside, because I knew what help meant coming from Ashley. "Of course," I said, steady, careful not to let the bitterness slip in. "What do you need?" She paused, like she was performing for an invisible audience. "Well, considering your job situation, I thought you'd be perfect for cleanup duty after the reception. You know, wiping tables, taking out the trash. Household staff should know their place." Her words hit me like an old bruise reopening, sharp and raw. Ashley had a way of making me feel invisible, even when I was standing right next to her, like I was a shadow that belonged to her light. But I swallowed the sting, kept my voice even. "Sure, I'll do whatever's needed." "Perfect. The wedding's at Versailles Garden this Saturday. Don't forget your cleaning uniform." After the call ended, I stared at the file in front of me, another mess of forged medical certificates and fake diagnoses. Doctors selling lies for profit. Fraudulent suffering. Real pain masked by forged papers. I made a mental note to double-check that list of doctors again. My work always demanded vigilance, but now something deeper was stirring in me. The days blurred after that, a tangled mix of wedding chatter and quiet frustration. Every conversation with Ashley felt like stepping through a room full of hidden traps, where every compliment carried a whisper of condescension. "I wish you could find a man like Robert," she sneered one afternoon during a family lunch. "But successful doctors don't marry government clerks." Robert Sullivan, the perfect picture of success. A renowned neurosurgeon with a thriving private practice, whose reputation preceded him like a spotlight. But every time I saw him at family dinners, something about him unsettled me. Too rehearsed, too perfect, like a carefully scripted role. One evening, trying to sound casual, I asked, "So, which hospital did you say you work at again?" "St. Joseph Hospital," he replied smoothly. 5 years there. I filed that away, quietly suspicious but saying nothing. Then, Wednesday before the wedding, everything changed. As I flipped through the latest case files, my breath hitched. There he was, Dr. Robert Sullivan, right there on the list of doctors suspected of issuing fake disability certificates. The evidence was damning. Hundreds of forged documents, more than $100,000 stolen from people who depended on those benefits. Patient statements, doctored records, bank statements. It was all there. My phone rang again. "Ashley." "Change of plans," she said crisply. "I need you to get there early tomorrow to clean the kitchen before the guests arrive. And please, wear something appropriate. Nothing fancy. We don't want people confusing your position." "My position?" I echoed, already knowing the meaning behind her words. "You know, Robert's family is very distinguished. His colleagues will be there. It'd be awkward if they thought my sister was more than she is." That night, I stayed late at the office, the hum of the fluorescent lights my only companion as I pieced it all together. Quietly coordinating with my team, I mapped out a plan, careful, discreet, necessary. I wanted to protect the truth without turning it into a spectacle, but I couldn't let him get away with stealing from those who truly needed help. Not anymore. And in that quiet space between exhaustion and resolve, something began to shift inside me. The pain Ashley's words brought, old and familiar, was no longer enough to keep me hidden in the shadows. It was the spark lighting the first flicker of courage, the first stirrings of something I hadn't allowed myself before: hope. Saturday morning found me standing at the gates of Versailles Garden, just as dawn painted the sky in pale hues of pink and gold. I was dressed simply: jeans, a soft blouse, and worn sneakers, carrying a heavy tote bag stuffed with cleaning supplies over my shoulder. The garden was waking up, dew sparkling on every petal and blade of grass, fountains quietly bubbling as if whispering secrets to the cool morning air. Rows of pristine white chairs were arranged like promises, lined up perfectly for a day that was meant to be nothing short of a dream. This place, this flawless scene, was Ashley's dream, and I was meant to be the invisible hand wiping away any sign of imperfection, the background noise to her bright, polished life. "You finally made it," Ashley snapped from the wide-open French doors of the bridal suite, wrapped in a silk robe that shimmered like liquid light. She held a champagne glass as casually as a weapon. "The tables need scrubbing. The kitchen's a disaster." I didn't respond with bitterness. Instead, I rolled up my sleeves and plunged into the work. The scent of lemon cleaner mixed with blooming gardenias as I scrubbed and wiped, the sharp tang of soap bubbles popping between my fingers. The staff glanced my way, a mix of curiosity and quiet judgment in their eyes. Why was the government clerk elbow-deep in suds here, at this lavish celebration? I didn't answer. I let them wonder. While my hands moved through the rhythm of cleaning, my eyes tracked the arrival of the guests. Men and women in crisp white coats, the badge of doctors, mingled with state officials in impeccably tailored suits. Business magnates laughed in tight clusters, their voices low and confident. Near the entrance, Robert Sullivan played the perfect host, shaking hands, flashing that practiced smile designed to disarm. But if you looked closer, really looked, his eyes told a different story. Flickering, restless, a man waiting for something he couldn't control. "Amber." Mom's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She stood near a vase, fingers trembling as she arranged fresh flowers, her smile tight and strained. "Ashley says stay in the kitchen during the ceremony. No photos." I nodded, a quiet relief settling over me. Honestly, I preferred the shadows. The ceremony began precisely at 5. Father Jackson, our old parish priest, stood with gentle solemnity beneath the archway draped in wisteria and white roses. His voice filled the garden, soft but firm, weaving words about love and trust, about the sacred foundation that holds a marriage together. "Marriage," he said slowly, "must be built on a foundation of truth." From the kitchen window, I caught Robert's profile, jaw clenched tight, eyes scanning the crowd with attention that cut sharper than any knife. This wasn't just the nerves before a wedding. It was fear, raw and unmistakable. Then Father Jackson's voice lowered, steady and clear, slicing through the quiet. "If anyone here knows of any legal reason why these two should not be joined in matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." The entire garden held its breath. But instead of silence, Father Jackson's gaze shifted sharply, locking onto the kitchen window. "Dr. Tucker," he said, calm and resolute, "do you have something to say about these forged medical documents?" In that instant, everything cracked open, time splintered like glass underfoot. The hushed whispers of guests stopped mid-breath. The bright afternoon light suddenly felt heavier charged. I stood there, the cleaning rag slipping from my hand, my heart pounding loud enough to drown out the silence. Because in that moment, I wasn't just Ashley's overlooked sister. I wasn't just the woman who wiped tables and stayed quiet in the background. I was the keeper of truths. And this moment, raw, painful, exposed, was only the beginning of my story. Not one written in bitterness, but one slowly unfolding toward healing, toward courage, and reclaiming my dignity. The ache in my chest was sharp and undeniable. But beneath it, something quietly stirred, a strength that had been waiting for its chance to rise. Like the first fragile light after a long, suffocating night, It flickered to life, and I knew I was ready to step into that light, one steady breath at a time. All eyes snapped to me. I stood frozen, a cleaning rag clenched tightly in my hand, the sharp scent of disinfectant clinging to my skin. The warm hum of conversation that had filled the garden moments ago evaporated instantly, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed in from every direction. The sunlight filtering through the grand windows caught on Robert's face, which had drained of color, almost as pale as Ashley's shimmering white gown. "D.D.R. Tucker?" Robert stammered, his carefully constructed facade cracking and falling apart. What's going on?" For a breathless moment, it felt like the entire world was holding its breath. My heart pounded fiercely, a wild drumbeat fueled by years of quiet sacrifice and the fierce, growing resolve inside me. Slowly, deliberately, I peeled off the apron, the invisible barrier between who I was and who they thought I was. Every step I took from the shadows of the kitchen toward the altar felt surreal, the weight of every gaze pinned to my path. Ashley's mouth fell open, panic flashing in her eyes. The mask of control she wore so flawlessly all evening slipped away, revealing the raw fear beneath. "Father Jackson and I have worked together on several ethics cases," I said, voice steady but calm. I reached into my tote and pulled out my ID. "He serves on the Medical Ethics Advisory Committee for the Attorney General's office." Holding my badge up, I let the room see who I really was. "My name is Amber Tucker. I'm a forensic medical examiner with the Attorney General's office. I specialize in uncovering medical fraud." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Ashley gripped Robert's arm tightly, as if trying to anchor herself against the storm crashing down. I locked eyes with Robert, my voice low but firm. "Dr. Robert Sullivan, you are currently under investigation for forging medical records, defrauding the public health system, and evading taxes." His face twisted in disbelief. "This is insane. You can't do this on my wedding day." But I knew better. This wasn't about theatrics or perfect timing. This was about truth. And truth has a way of demanding to be heard, no matter how inconvenient. Father Jackson stepped forward, pulling a folder from beneath the altar. "Dr. Sullivan," he said, voice steady and unwavering, "these documents prove you've been selling fraudulent disability certificates. As a member of the Ethics Committee, I am obligated to stop this wedding until these allegations are resolved." Ashley broke free from Robert's grasp and spun toward me, eyes blazing with fury and disbelief. "How dare you?" she spat. "How dare you ruin my wedding?" I met her furious gaze with quiet empathy. "Ashley, this isn't about you. But I couldn't let you marry someone living a lie." "Lies!" Robert shouted, his voice cracking. "All lies meant to destroy me." At that moment, the calm professionalism of 3 agents from the Attorney General's office filled the garden. This was the moment I had prepared for, the culmination of months of quiet work and careful planning. The lead agent stepped forward, badge flashing in the sunlight. "Dr. Robert Sullivan, you have the right to remain silent." As they escorted Robert away in handcuffs, murmurs rippled through the crowd, shock, relief, discomfort mingling in whispers among his colleagues. Ashley sank into a chair, her dress pooling around her like a crushed dream. Mom sat beside her, hands clenched tightly in her lap, sending me a look tangled with pride, confusion, and reproach all at once. "Why didn't you tell us?" Mom's voice was low but steady. I sighed, feeling the weight of everything settle over me like a heavy cloak. My work demands absolute discretion, and I needed to be certain before I brought this into the light. The evidence was undeniable. Father Jackson approached, his expression softening with quiet respect. "Dr. Tucker, it wasn't easy reaching out to you. But when I saw his name on those documents, I knew action had to be taken." "You did the right thing, Father," I said. Ashley deserved to know the truth before committing her life to someone hiding behind a mask. The days that followed felt like a whirlwind spinning out of control. The media pounced on the story, uncovering every detail of Robert's fraud, more than $250,000 stolen from the healthcare system, hidden behind falsified records and fake disability claims. His private clinic was shut down almost overnight, and the investigation snowballed, pulling more than 30 doctors into the scandal, with millions of dollars lost and countless lives affected. But for me, This wasn't just about headlines or public outrage. It was about reclaiming something far deeper: my voice, my dignity, and the right to stand up and be seen. I was no longer the invisible sister, the quiet background figure. I was the one who told the truth, no matter the cost. Ashley and I drifted apart after that. The silence between us stretched like a canyon, filled with unspoken words and shattered trust. Weeks passed with no conversations, no attempts to bridge the gap, until finally, at a family dinner about a month later, she broke the silence. "I never really knew who you were," she said softly, almost afraid of her own confession. "I thought, I don't know, you were just average. Like you hadn't done much." I nodded slowly, understanding where she was coming from. "My job means I have to stay invisible. The people I investigate can't know who I really am." "But why didn't you tell us?" she asked, her voice quieter now, tinged with regret. "Why did you let us treat you like you didn't matter?" I took a breath, weighing my words. "Because my worth isn't tied to anyone else's recognition. My work speaks for itself. That's what really matters." Robert's arrest pulled back the curtain on a sprawling network, over 30 doctors involved, millions drained from a system that's supposed to protect the vulnerable. The truth was messy, tangled, and far-reaching. In time, Ashley found her footing again. She rebuilt herself as an event coordinator, ironically taking on her first major assignment, organizing a medical ethics conference, where I was invited to speak. "Funny, isn't it?" she said one afternoon while arranging the agenda. "All my life, I thought you were the sister who didn't amount to much. Turns out, you're the most successful one of us all." I smiled gently, feeling the quiet power of those words. Success wears many faces. Sometimes, the quiet victories are the ones that mean the most. In that moment, something shifted, not just between us, but within me. The pain that had weighed me down was starting to transform. I wasn't just the quiet sister in the background anymore. I was someone who stood for truth, for dignity, and for healing. The journey wasn't over, but for the first time, the path ahead felt clear. Sometimes, when I stand at the podium and look out at the crowd, I feel the same quiet intensity settle over the room. The kind of stillness that holds the weight of something deeply important. That day, I wasn't just speaking about medical ethics or healthcare laws. I was talking about integrity, the invisible thread that binds us to our humanity, our responsibility to each other, and the courage it takes to protect what's right even when it's hard. Among the faces watching me were many who had once been guests at Ashley's wedding, the day everything unraveled. I saw in their eyes a new kind of understanding. No longer just surprise, but respect. It was a silent acknowledgement of the journey I had walked, the battles I'd fought quietly, often alone. Afterwards, as people came forward with words of admiration and gratitude, one doctor's voice stayed with me. "It's remarkable how you carried this all in silence," he said softly. "How did you bear not sharing this part of yourself with those closest to you?" I smiled, feeling a deep truth settle inside me. Sometimes the most meaningful work is the work no one sees. The difference you make doesn't always need an audience. It's enough to know it's there, that you're standing for something bigger than yourself. The months that followed brought justice, not just for Robert and his lies, but for a broken system that desperately needed healing. Robert faced his consequences. His name was erased from the medical community he had betrayed. And Ashley, too, found her way back to herself, choosing honesty and kindness in a love that promised something real. One afternoon, she said something I never expected. "This time I want to know him. Really know him." There was no bitterness in her voice, only a quiet hope that felt stronger than any resentment. As for me, I found strength not in vengeance, but in purpose. My work continued, unseen by many, but vital to so many more. My family's understanding grew, not through words or explanations, but through the steady, unwavering truth of what I do. Sometimes, when the city slows down and the light softens just right, I walk past Versailles Garden, the place where pain and truth collided, where a new story began. It wasn't the perfect wedding or the ending anyone imagined, but it was a beginning nonetheless. Father Jackson, a steady voice through it all, once told me, "That day was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but also one of the most necessary." I carry that with me now. The courage to face what's real, the strength to let go of what's false, and the grace to rise, whole, unbroken, and quietly unstoppable. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means standing taller after the fall, choosing truth over comfort, and knowing that sometimes the greatest power lies in simply being who you were always meant to be. If my story can remind anyone else of that courage lives inside each of us, waiting to be claimed, then every step, every hardship, every moment of doubt has been worth it. Have you ever been through something like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Thanks so much for watching Rise with Sherry. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more.